Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it coming in. Golden, golden, I'll follow only golden, 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 golden things.
Hi you guys, welcome back to another episode of Life with Z. This week's video is all about fall recipes, so we're going to spend some time in the kitchen together and make tons of fall recipes. We are starting off strong with drying some oranges. I have wanted to make a dried orange garland for years, and I decided this year is finally the time. So we're slicing up some fresh oranges to get those baking in the oven. They need to bake at 200 degrees for about 4 to 6 hours. I ended up baking them for about 4 hours, rotating them, flipping them over every 30 minutes. So this was a good thing to get going at the beginning of the day. But like I said, today is going to be all about those fun fall recipes. I'm looking forward to showing you a few simple, festive desserts, some classics, and of course, we'll make a batch of my favorite vegetarian chili. So grab yourself a cozy fall drink, settle in, and let's spend some time making some fall recipes together. We've been checking on the orange slices every 30 minutes, and after about 4 hours, they finally fully dehydrated, so we can take them out of the oven and then let them cool on some cooling racks and give them a bit more time to fully dry out. Then later on today, we'll string those on a garland to make a fun, festive piece of decor. And next up, I am so excited to make some caramel apples, another fall favorite. I love caramel apples. They're one of my favorite fall treats. So just starting out with some Honeycrisp apples, making sure to give them a good wash and try and get any of that wax coating off the surface. And then I'm just keeping it simple using some Kraft caramels. So we'll get those unwrapped and in our pot so that we can get them going on the stove. I'm just following the recipe on the back of the bag, which recommended 2 tablespoons of water for 1 bag of caramels. So we'll get that simmering on the stove. And then I just have these shish kebab skewers that I picked up from the grocery store. I cut them down to size. So we'll get those, put in the apples and the caramel melting on the stove. This was my first time making caramel apples at home, so I made sure to read a few tips and tricks just to make sure they turned out. Of course, putting the dipped apples on wax paper makes transferring them that much easier. And then again, making sure they are completely dry before you dip them in the caramel. Securing those skewers to make sure the apples are nice and snug and not gonna fall off when you go to bite into your apple. And then letting the caramel cool slightly before dipping helps to make sure the caramel sticks to the apple and doesn't slide off. And then lastly, I decided to dip my caramel apples in a little bit of granulated sugar. That's just something I remember from the cider mill growing up. how they made their apples and prevented them from sticking to the pan or to the packaging. So just a little nostalgic touch, but while we wait for our caramel to cool, we can check on those orange slices. They've dehydrated nicely, and look how beautiful they are. I love that rich orange color, and they are gonna add such a fun, festive touch to my office when we turn them into a garland later. We're waiting for those final pieces of caramel to melt, then we'll let that cool before we head back over to our apples and get dipping. Look how delicious that looks. I kept the apples simple this time, just coating them in caramel and dipping them in that granulated sugar, but you could totally dress them up with a chocolate drizzle. You could add some chopped nuts or candies. The possibilities are endless, but I decided to go with classic caramel apples this time, and I love how they turned out. The caramel was starting to cool by the time we were getting to our final couple apples, so we'll get those all coated and then put them in the fridge for an hour to chill, and then they'll be ready to enjoy. Next, it was time to get our crockpot chili going, and this is a favorite recipe of mine. I have tweaked it over the years, but I have it down pat now, and it's a crowd pleaser for sure. So we'll chop up some fresh green pepper and some white onion as well, and then we'll head over to the crockpot to get all the ingredients mixed together. Like I mentioned, I have tried a variety of combinations, honestly, over the last 10 years, but this recipe is tried and true and definitely my favorite. So starting with a couple cans of no salt added tomato sauce, then we'll add specifically white choux peg corn, some diced green chilies, we'll add cannellini beans, black beans, the McCormick slow cooker chili seasoning, and then our green pepper and onion, and get that all stirred together and simmering on high for about 2 hours while we continue our fall baking. And then you can totally modify this recipe for a carnivore as well, just by cooking up some ground turkey or chicken on the side and mixing it in for them to enjoy. Next up, another nostalgic favorite that I've loved for years but never tried to make myself. we are gonna make Halloween popcorn balls. And I looked up a recipe beforehand and it seemed pretty simple, so I thought we'd give it a try, just starting with about 8 cups of air-popped popcorn. You could also use a Skinny Pop or any popcorn from the store, but I thought we would keep it a little simpler with this air-popped white popcorn. And then we'll get some butter melting on the stove and add a bag of marshmallows and get that all melted. Add some vanilla as well, and then it's pretty simple from there, just like you would mix Rice Krispie treats. We'll go ahead and add the melted marshmallow to our popcorn and then mix it all together. The recipe said it works best to have greased hands to make the popcorn balls so that the marshmallow isn't sticking. So just went ahead and put on some gloves and added a little butter so that I could roll the popcorn balls out. And I had my handsome helper, Greg, helping me out, whipping these up. We decided to add some Halloween M&Ms to make them that much more festive, and they turned out so great. This will definitely be added to my fall baking list. I know I'll be enjoying them in years to come. It was a bit difficult to mix all together, as you can see here, but just like Rice Krispie treats, as they cool down a bit, they get easier to work with. So you just go ahead and make 8 balls out of this mixture and let them set a bit, and then I just sealed them in their own individual Ziploc bags to keep them nice and fresh. For our final fall recipe, we are taking our pumpkin muffins to the next level with these super cute pumpkin molds. I got these on Amazon and I'll be sure to link them in the description box below. But essentially they are 2 halves of a pumpkin that you can piece together to make a 3D pumpkin muffin or cake. So I'm just going in with my 2-ingredient pumpkin muffin mix using spice cake mix and a can of pumpkin. We'll bake these in the oven at 350 degrees for 25 minutes. And while they bake, we'll go ahead and string our orange slices on some twine to make our festive fall garland. This process was pretty straightforward. I just wrapped the end of the twine with a little tape to make it easier to string through the orange slices, and then used a knife to pierce at the top of each orange slice. I made sure to lay them out beforehand so I kind of knew the pattern that I was going for and to make sure to vary the sizes, but it turned out super cute. I really enjoyed making this, and I think While it works great for fall, I could modify it as well to be a festive Christmas decoration. Now that our garland is complete, we'll get that hung up in my office, and it was the perfect addition to this candy corn garland I've had in here. It makes it feel nice and festive, and I absolutely love how it turned out. We'll get our pumpkin muffins out of the oven and cooling, and while those cool off, we can whip up some frosting to decorate. I decided to make a green frosting for little pumpkin vines to just add a sweet little touch to the pumpkin muffins, and then we'll go ahead and get that in a piping bag and add some white frosting to a piping bag as well, so that we can decorate our muffins once they're cool. Once the muffins were completely cooled, I went ahead with a bread knife and just sliced the tops off so that they would be completely flat on the bottom, and then demolded them all and stacked them together. These turned out so much cuter than I could have imagined. I highly recommend this mold. With very little effort, you get very detailed, super cute cupcakes or muffins. So once we got those all out of their molds, we'll add that frosting in the middle so the top and bottom will stick together, and then we'll go in with the green for a little extra detail. Alright you guys, that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. I hope you enjoyed these fall recipes. I had so much fun baking with you. Please make sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed today's video and subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you next week for a brand new video. Bye!